Hello everyone, and welcome to a little review of the Skywatcher BK 607 refractor telescope, which is this thing right here. Now, I've had this telescope since I was a kid. It was the first telescope I ever got and was gifted to me by my grandparents. We're going back to like 2011, so the very early 2010s. And I was like 6 at the time. And I never got full use of it until I was 18, because I had no idea how to use the telescope itself. I had to look up reviews on how to use the thing. But in reality, it's fairly simple. Now, it does come with a few things. Firstly, get out of the thing first, a super 10mm eyepiece, and a super 20mm eyepiece. Now, these aren't particularly great. I would recommend upgrading after your first few sort of uses of the telescope itself. Like, for example, here, one of my first upgrades was an SV Burney 20mm eyepiece, which has much more longer eye relief, if I can speak properly, and allows you to see a bit better. So if you look, I don't know if you can see it, but you get more of an angle. It's ultra wide sort of angle with this one compared to the stock eyepiece. You also get a Barlow lens. It's also not great. It's 2 times. I know some come with like 3 times Barlow lenses, and your telescope just can't handle it. But I never really used the 2 times. I didn't think it was great. I would upgrade straight away for the Barlow lens. You also get a diagonal as well. This was fairly late in my my upgrade purchases, was the diagonal. But I would upgrade that straight away because that's just plastic and it's like a shaving mirror, so it's not great. You also get an erecting image eyepiece, which is like a really long sort of tube that I think it's 1.5 times zoom on it. And it also flips the image back to being not upside down. Because when you look through a telescope like this, the image that you see is upside down. So with the erecting image eyepiece, you get, you know, the regular image without being upside down. But I think it's mainly used for like bird watching and things on Earth, because I've never used it for like the planet, something like that. Now, I've got some experience fairly recently with this telescope. Last night I went out. Now, I will say it wasn't particularly dark. It was twilight, maybe. It was like dark blue skies. So, I mean, it's summer. So what do you really expect? It was about 10 o'clock in the evening. And in fact, I plan to go out again tonight because it's clear. But I'm not using the telescope. And I'll review the telescope that I will use in the next video. But what can I see with this last night? And I will say I was using my upgraded pieces. So the first thing I looked at was the moon. You could see clear craters. This is a crescent moon, by the way. Oh no, it was more of a half moon. You can see craters very easily. You can see the shadows of mountain ranges. I wouldn't expect you to get too far of a zoom though, because once you get to that point, the telescope just makes it really blurry because it can't handle the high-powered eyepieces that particularly that well. Then I looked at Venus, and I was looking for Jupiter. I wasn't actually looking for Venus at the time, and I was looking for Jupiter, and I see this very bright ball, and I'm thinking maybe it's just too bright outside for me to see Jupiter, because the first thing that you see when you know it's Jupiter is its moons, and I couldn't see that. And Venus itself, or the planet, there was a slight dark patch on one side because of how Venus shows itself. You can see, like, a bit like the moon, there's phases of Venus that you can see from the telescope. And I saw that, and I realised this is Venus. So you can see the phases of Venus with this telescope. I also saw Jupiter, what I was actually looking for, and I did see 3 of its moons, but only 2 spots. And that's because Io was on one side of Jupiter, but Europa and Ganymede were so close together that it only appeared as one bright spot. And then I think it was Callisto was going across the face of Jupiter, so I couldn't see it. And you can't see like the shadow of that with this telescope, it's just not powerful enough. What I could see on Jupiter was some of its cloud bands, mainly the really dark ones. So I think it's the north and south equatorial bands. If I can get that correctly, hang on. Yeah, it is. It's the north and south equatorial bands. So if you really squint, you can see those bands on Jupiter. I've also seen the rings of Saturn, which they're not huge through the telescope. It's quite difficult to see. I couldn't see the Cassini division, so I wouldn't expect to see that through the telescope. Now I will say that I'm living in Bortle 6 skies. I did say in my last video that I was Bortle 7, I think. That's wrong, it's actually Bortle 6. But I am looking into a city which has a higher Bortle number. So, but yeah, I am Bortle 6 skies. Now, let me actually tell you how to use the telescope itself, because I haven't done that yet. So, this is a very crappy setup, but you're going to have to deal with it. It's real. So it comes on an altazimuth mount. They're very easy to control. You just move it from side to side, and then, if I can loosen this, up and down. So it's very easy to use. There's 2 sort of like screws. So there's one here at the base of the mount, which controls like how fast and how loose the left and right direction is. Over time this does get looser, so you might have to periodically tighten it. However, this is quite an old telescope, so it could be the age of the telescope. Then when it comes to going up and down, there's one here, and you just tighten it or loosen it and it lets you go up and down. You take this off, depending on how much light you want to go into the telescope, you either take one bit off or the full lot. I tend to use the full lot just to get as much light as possible. You've got the finder scope. It's a very sort of cheap plastic finder scope that comes with the telescope itself. This is what you look through to try and find the object. So get a good grasp of where it is. So you angle where the finder scope is, and then you can look through the actual telescope. Now when it comes to looking, you take this off. Just sort of unscrew these little bits here. And this is where you get your diagonal and your eyepieces. You pop them into the end of the telescope. If I had that like fully, I'm doing it the wrong way. It's not great. You put those in there, and then you start observing. Obviously, I can't see anything from here. It's a wall. So yeah, it's very basic to use. The tripod is very flimsy. I have noticed that over the past few years. It is a very flimsy tripod. But what else can you expect from the price range of this telescope? I think back in 2011, this would have cost maybe about 90 British pounds. And I think nowadays they're going for like 120, 130. Don't quote me on that, I haven't looked it up. But I think that's the ideal price range this goes for now. There's also the focuser. I haven't mentioned that. It's very important. It's just a little thing you turn to get your focus. But yeah, it's a very good entry telescope. I would recommend this for beginners. Just don't get your hopes up. When you see images of space, you expect to see that through the telescope. You don't. For example, nebula and galaxies appear as faint grey blobs. It's only when you take long exposure images that colour comes out. So I've seen Orion, I've seen Andromeda through this, and they're just grey fuzzies. If you want more detail, you need more light, and this thing doesn't give you much light. So yeah, this is more, I would argue this is more of a planet and lunar scope. That's mainly what I've used this for. So that's your basic rundown. You can also get some other things for your telescope. Most come with a moon filter, which basically it's like a green or blue filter that sort of dimmens the brightness of the moon so you can see better. It can also be used for like looking at the bands on Jupiter. So I've seen fairly clear bands with a green filter. So I would use this if you're finding it quite difficult to see Jupiter's cloud bands. You can also buy a solar filter. So this telescope for me is primarily like a solar telescope. Obviously you want to buy one from a reputable source. So this is from Celestron. This is their Eclipse Smart solar filter. And essentially it's the cap, apart from you take the small bit out, you keep this on, and it's the filters just on the inside. So, but yeah, get it from a reputable source because some of them aren't built very well. Don't want to damage your eyes. So thank you for watching. Next time I should be reviewing my much larger Skywatcher 130mm reflector. So watch out for that. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.